I received a question from a subscriber about dirty jigs, and they said one of the problems they have is they don't know which jigs to buy because they don't know the difference between the jigs. So what I would like to do is go through my favorite Dirty jigs and kind of tell you what I use them for and what the differences are between some of the others. Dirty Jigs has, I don't know the full number of jigs, but they have like probably 20 variations of flipping jigs and like bottom dragging baits. I'm not going to talk at all about the swim jigs. I'll do another video that kind of separates the differences between each of the swim jigs, but right now I just want to talk more about their flipping jigs, pitching jigs, and I'm going to throw in a football jig just to kind of show the difference. But they are all great baits. Some of them are more niche jigs where they've got special techniques you should use them for, and others are more well-rounded jigs that kind of you can use for everything. So you know, it's up to you to determine which jig specifically that you want, but here are what I use each of these jigs for. We're gonna let's start here with the Matt Heron flipping jig. So the Matt Heron flipping jig, this bait is a phenomenal all-around jig. It comes with a 60-degree flat eye on the hook, and it's a little bit shorter shanked hook, which just makes it a little bit more compact. But in general, this bait is a very good all-purpose bait. It's really it really excels anytime you're fishing around heavy cover, so, you know, whether that's docks or bushes or trees or laydowns. It's an extremely weedless jig. It's got a good stiff weed guard and a super stout hook. It's a great skipping jig as well. The layout with the eye, the 60-degree flat eye with the shape of this head allows it to skip great around docks. This is my go-to dock fishing jig. I love it. It's a great jig. It's one of the newer jigs in their lineup. Matt Heron designed it. I mean, he's a master when it comes to jigs, so you know the quality in this is really good. So, you know, you've got the Matt Heron jig, and then you've got the Scott Canterbury, if I can find it here. So here's the Scott Canterbury flipping jig, and here's the label, so you know what the label looks like. So the Canterbury flipping jig, again, it's a great all-around jig. It's weedless. The big difference between this and the Matt Heron comes down to the hook. In this case, you've got a 30-degree straight eye hook. Again, it's a great flipping jig. It's meant to be thrown into heavy cover. I think this jig excels more around grass than wood. It also can work really well as a swim jig, or just a jig that you would be swimming. I've caught a ton of fish on it. It's got a really good heavy-duty hook. And the nice thing about this, you know, this is the full size. They've also got then the Scott Canterbury compact flipping, and you can see the size difference here. It's significantly smaller. You know, what I like to call this is, a lot of people in the past have used the Bitsy bug, and this is the Bitsy bug on steroids. Like, this is got the absolute perfect head form on it, super stout hook, nice weed guard. I mean, it's literally just a smaller version of the Scott Canterbury flipping. This has become like just a go-to. The compact flipping has become a go-to of mine anytime I'm fishing spotted bass or fishing around smallmouth. it's just, it excels. It's a smaller, compact jig that you can get into small areas and the hook isn't going to bend on you. It's really a great jig. Both of these are great jigs. Again, I use the Scott Canterbury flipping when I'm fishing more around grass. I'll mix in definitely when I'm fishing around wood as well, but I usually will stick with this if I'm fishing more grass with laydowns mixed in, because it comes through the grass a little bit better, in my opinion, than the Matt Herron flipping. So then Luke Clawson's got several baits as well that are mixed in, and he's got, so in this case, this is the compact pitching jig, and I just cut this one off my rod. You can see it's been beaten up and caught some fish. I gotta say that the Clawson compact pitching jig is probably my #1 jig that I go to. It's the most versatile of all of the jigs, in my opinion. It's a compact size again, so it's really good if you're fishing around a fishery that's either highly pressured or you've got smallmouth or spotted bass mixed in. It just seems to be a jig that I go to first, because again, with the flat eye hook eye on there, it comes through wood extremely well, and it's just a great all-purpose jig. I will use this as well as a casting jig if I'm in open water. With that compact size, you can get a pretty quick fall and get it down to the fish if you're fishing a little bit deeper. So that's the Luke Clawson compact pitching jig. So then there's the Luke Clawson casting jig. And this bait is specifically designed to be fished offshore, more in the open water. It's got a great O'Shaughnessy style hook on it, a little bit more light wire, still super strong and super sharp, but it's made to penetrate on a long cast. You'll still get a good hook set. Again, all these baits have great wire hook keepers in them. But what's great about the Clawson casting jig is that it's got a great fall. It's meant to fall vertical, and you can basically utilize this as a football jig as well. It really actually has taken over the majority of my football jig dragging. The reason for that being that not only can I drag this bait, it's a great bait to stroke. And I don't know if you guys have stroked a jig before, but it's a great technique. It's really it really excels in the same areas you would be using a football jig, but you're getting it off the bottom, and then with that O'Shaughnessy style hook, you get a much better hook set on this, especially when you're stroking the jig, getting it high off the bottom, than you will with a football jig if you're trying to stroke the football jig. This bait also comes through grass really well. It's got the straight eye on there, and if you're fishing like up here in the North Country, a lot of times we'll fish eel grass or some milfoil that's a little deeper, not super thick stuff, but lighter strands of it. And you can really rip this bait through those weeds well and get it back to the boat still being clean. And it's just a great bait. So, like I mentioned, the football jig, Dirty Jigs has a whole variation of football jigs. The one I like the most is the tour level football jig. They've got so many awesome colors to choose from. It's almost hard to select one, but the difference, like I just mentioned, with a football jig and a casting jig, really, for me, comes down to, do I want to be 100% on the bottom, or am I going to be trying to get that jig off of the bottom? If I want to have contact with the bottom the full time, I'll go with the football jig. And like I said, they've got like 4 or 5 different football jigs, from finesse style up to like the tour level, which has a little bit heavier hook in it. Again, this is a nice heavy gauged hook. It's a softer weed guard, which is nice. I just like I like the football jig if I want to keep contact, and I know that the fish are super tight to the bottom. Like up here in the North Country, when the smallmouth get into their wintering holes, I want a football jig instead of a casting jig because those fish are literally sitting on the bottom of the lake. And that's really what it comes down to for me. I love the football jigs as well, but I have found myself going to a casting jig more and more just because I think it's a little bit more versatile. So the last bait I want to talk about is the Clawson Finesse Jig. So, I mean, this is about as good as it gets when you're looking for a small finesse jig. This bait excels for me when I'm fishing clear water, a little bit deeper, especially if there's spotted bass and smallmouth around. You know, it's a great highland reservoir impoundment type bait. And I'm pretty sure that's what Luke designed it for. You know, when you're not getting bit on the bigger jigs, or if it's more of a shaky head bite, that's when I would switch over to a finesse jig like this. This will get as many bites as a shaky head. And you'll get better size as well. You just need to commit to it. You know, I think sometimes it's hard to put down a shaky head, but if you're getting bit on the shaky head regularly, you definitely want to try this little jig. This little jig will up the size that you're getting, and I swear you don't miss out on many bites at all. I think you still get approximately the same number of bites. The color selection on this is really geared more towards you know, the finesse style, or like spotted bass or smallmouth triggering colors. Like this has a couple of strands of the orange in it. You can get this same color basically, instead of the orange you can get the chartreuse, and that's one of my spotted bass killers. And in general, you know, you can't go wrong with this little guy. I mean, with the hook eye is recessed, and it's a flat eye again, so it comes through wood and rock extremely well. It's extremely weedless, and it's more of that bait is smaller or more compact than I would say like the either the Luke Clawson compact pitching or the Scott Canterbury compact flipping. Those baits are still, you know, I'm gonna say more power fishing based. They're just small little jigs, whereas the little Clawson finesse jig, I truly believe, is more of a true finesse style tactic. But you know, those are my main dirty jigs that I carry with me. They've got a lot more to choose from, so you know, go on Tackle Warehouse or some of the websites that carry their products, and you can read into, you know, which ones you think might be better for yourself. But you know, these baits will get you through. They cover pretty much the entire gamut of jig fishing, and they're all extremely high quality products, super sharp hooks, super impressive paint jobs and skirts on them. You know, if you haven't thrown a dirty jig, I really recommend you go out and just give them a try. And like I said, you can get them pretty much at any major tackle outlet store at this point. They started as a small Wisconsin company, and now they've worked themselves up to being pretty much the you know, one of the top jig makers in the country. And that goes back to the quality and the craftsmanship. You know, they only come out with a bait if they feel it's truly been tested, and not only tested, but proven that it works. So give them a try, guys. If you found this video helpful, let me know if there's other breakdowns of different types of lures that you want me to talk about, the difference. You know, it's being with dirty jigs for a while, I've been able to kind of experiment with them all. But I know, you know, if you've got a limited budget and you're just trying to order 1 or 2 jigs, I think it's helpful to have somebody at least point you in the right direction. And I've gotten lots of questions over the years as to, you know, what's the difference between the compact pitching? What's the, you know, the compact flipping? Which one do you go with? And yeah, I don't think any of them are bad. They just are ones that I think are better for certain scenarios. But guys, you know, like I said, leave a comment if there's something you want me to talk about. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, please, and subscribe if you want to see more like this. Thanks.